Hello and welcome back to The Focus, finding outstanding classrooms using Skype. Today I'm really excited to be giving you Vicki Davis of the Cool Cat Teacher blog and among other things she's done on social media. This person has been a pioneer in all things 21st century learning, not to mention that she's also one of the founders of the Flat Classroom Project. Ms. Davis has been doing cool and innovative things for a long time, and because we've had a focus of people that use social media, I thought there was never a better guest than today. A lot of you, like I've said, have seen the Cool Cat Teacher blog, but now we're going to get to know her classroom a little better. So, from the Westwood Schools in Camilla, Georgia, let's welcome Vicki Davis and her class. Vicki, how you doing?
We are doing great. I've got a class, one of my 10th grade computer science classes. I wish we could have all been together because I'm very proud of what this class has accomplished. But the star of my classroom is definitely my students. And I'm very proud of them. And, you know, it's great to be here.
Now, obviously, you've had such an impact on blogging and being on Twitter. Before we start into some of these cool projects, how active are some of your students on Twitter or on social media?
How many of you guys have a Twitter account? Okay, and how many of you have a Facebook? Pretty much. Now, how many of you, this is another question, how many of you have a Twitter or a Facebook or a blog for a project for my class, a personal interest or a website? Some of y'all built websites, so you can pretty much see that the students are using, now you have a YouTube channel, so that would count, right? You put your stuff up on YouTube, yeah. So we use social media for professional purposes, which I would consider, they're professional students, as well as their personal life. So we use social media in many different ways. Right now we don't have school-wide Facebook access, but they did use it last year for their Hope for Slaves project, where they worked on a project to try to bring awareness to human trafficking. So we use social media as part of what we do in the classroom all the time.
That's great. I know that so many times I'm trying to talk to my kids about professionalism and trying to keep things. I think what they get tired of me saying is if you act like a professional and you treat yourself like a professional online, people will treat you accordingly. So I think it's great, and I've always admired what you've done from the interest you've gotten from people, from your blogs. You were one of the pioneers. And I would assume that your students would be just as media savvy as you, so that's great. Tell us a little bit about, and we're going to get to what you're working on now, but tell us a little bit about your Flat Classroom project and how that started.
Well, in 2006, Julie Lindsay was in Dhaka, Bangladesh, and at the K-12 online conference, the very first one, I did a wiki session, and they let me, instead of just talking about wikis, I said, we kind of missed the point on wikis unless we write collaboratively. So we had a collaborative contest for the teachers. And Julie Lindsay was one of the teachers that was in that and had an award-winning wiki for that. And then I wrote a blog post to my students. We were studying Thomas Friedman's book, The World is Flat, and the different flatteners. And she reached out to me. She was a teacher in Bangladesh and said, instead of us just studying the same thing, why don't we connect our classrooms? So we connected our classrooms. Each student got a partner on the other side of the world. They wrote a wiki together about the flatteners in Friedman's book, and then they created a video and outsourced part of their video to their partner. And what happened was completely transformational, not just from technology, but from a worldview. About 2 weeks into the first project, and my students don't even know the story, but before the project started, I actually had a parent complain because the parents said that bad people were going to come through the computer and bomb us if I connected with another classroom, because I was very upfront, told the parents what we were getting ready to do. And, I explained to her that we didn't need to be afraid of the folks in Bangladesh, and they were going to be a classroom, and we were just going to connect. So about 2 weeks into the project, I had a couple kids come to my desk, and they lined up at break, and they said they had something to say to me. And I know that if they come see me at break or lunch, usually it's really important, so pay a lot of attention. And they said, Miss Vicki, we just want to tell you that the news media is wrong. And I said, well, what are you talking about? And they said, well, not all Muslims want to kill us. You can't judge anybody based upon their religion. You have to learn to get to know somebody first.
That's awesome.
And I realized that their worldview had transformed. But what was also happening at the same time is Julie in Bangladesh was having conversations with her students about, all people in the U.S. aren't fat and arrogant. I mean, we like these people, and you can't judge somebody from the country they're from. You have to get to know them. And we realized that we could not leave this behind. This had to be something that the world needed and that we would share. So the next project, we had 7 teachers who saw what we were doing. They said, yes, we believe in this. We want to do this. And then it's just grown from there. We now have 7 projects from kindergarten all the way up. I'm still a full-time teacher. Julie is not. She's in Australia. We got a grant to cover her running the projects, but we also hire full-time teachers to run all the projects because this is about teachers, but it's more than that. It's really about students and unleashing the power of students. So we consider ourselves teacherpreneurs, and our goal is to be the best set of projects that co-create in the world. So there are tons of global collaborations, and there are incredible global collaborations, but our goal specifically is to be masters at the co-creation process.
All right, so tell us a little bit about obviously you're doing some of this now. I see some really awesome students behind you. Tell me what they're working on right now.
Well, right now, I hate to say that sometimes I have to go backwards to get them ready for college. I've blogged about it before. This time of year is a little bit frustrating for me. I do have to teach them how to take quizzes and such for a computer science course. So we're doing some of that. We just finished the Flat Classroom project, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But we're also really getting into the time for our passion-based projects. So tomorrow they will be working on their passion-based project, which is a personal interest project. Now, last year they spent 20% of their time on it, and I'd love for some of them to talk about those projects. But this year they spent about 10% of their time just because of how tight the curriculum is, and they work on personal interest projects. So right now we're studying about we've been studying about password security, which is very important. We're getting ready to talk about hardware and software so that when they hear, I hate to say a geeky person, but I don't know what else to say. When they hear somebody talk and use these big words in a meeting in 10 years or whenever, that they will be unafraid. You know, so many things are hurdles in our mind. And if you ever think that somebody is above you or you can't understand something, you're limiting yourself. Humility, I don't know. The strength to admit, I will find out, is essential. And that's one of the things I want the students to be. You know, as my friend Angela Meyer says, you start with your to-be list before you have your to-do list. And I know what I would like these students to be, but I also know what they already are. And they are beautiful, wonderful people. And I might tear up. They don't know this, but every time I talk about them, I get emotional because I really care about them, but they are beautiful, wonderful people, and I just see it as my job to help unleash their talents and help them see the strength that they have and the gift that they have for the world, and that's what I want to be. I want to be the kind of teacher that finds that, but I also want to be the kind of teacher that helps their teachers do that too, because I believe the good Lord put me here and puts us here to help others and not just to be selfish. I can't just sit here and say, you know what, I have an amazing classroom and I'm in an incredible school. I have to help other people be able to create that amazing classroom, and it starts with you as the teacher. Okay, our first student I'd like to talk to is Morgan, and we want to talk briefly about 2 things. Morgan researched a topic and created a video for Flat Classroom and ended up winning the 3rd place award in the whole project. We do have judges around the world judge because we don't want the teachers to be put in that place. We're biased. We have to be. We love our students and we love all the students, but we do want to see our students win. We see the hours that they put in. So teachers around the world and educators around the world volunteer their time to judge the videos, and then it's completely blind judging, and they determine the winners. So Morgan, I'd like you just to tell us a little bit, what was the title of your video and what did you do on your video this year?
The title of my video was Brick, and I chose to go in the direction towards the innovation of like iPads and tablets, things like that inside of school, because they're replacing textbooks. And if you look at the statistics, it's actually showing that kids' test scores are coming up for using like technological devices rather than textbooks all the time.
So Morgan, tell us a little bit. You also have a passion-based project that has kind of had a bit of a following, and you've got a Twitter handle. So you tell us your Twitter handle and what you spent last year doing and you're doing this year as well.
My Twitter handle is Apps for Autism, and I chose to do Apps for Autism because I have some autistic friends, and they're the coolest people to sit there and talk to. They're actually really smart, and I think that some people sometimes take them for granted because they label them as stupid or something like that. In fact, they're sometimes smarter than the average person. And so I chose to do Apps for Autism so I could help parents with kids, because a lot of parents have problems helping their autistic kids learn. And I would blog and do some beta testing with companies for apps. And I got to know parents and doctors all over the world, and it was a really great experience.
Okay, so tell us that story about the email that came in near the end of last year.
I had been helping a parent with giving them apps that help their kid learn how to read, and I gave her my email in case she wanted any extra information. And I got an email from her a couple of months later saying that her child had actually began to read some little kids' books that had came with that app. And she said that she'd never seen anything like it, because they don't talk that much. But just listening to him open his mouth and be able to talk like that and read was one of the coolest things for her. And it was really cool for me to be able to make that experience.
You know, one thing I told my 8th graders is that I'm not just here to teach you, I'm here to completely blow your mind. And sometimes the blow your mind is not just the cool technology, it's to blow your mind realizing, hey, I'm good at this, or hey, I can make a difference in the world. And that's part of what I like to do. Now, Rhea has a YouTube channel, so she's making videos on actually, it's kind of funny. Her little brother is in some of them, and he kind of ends up being what are some of the things you've made videos about?
Did an audio meter, blood pressure machine, X-ray and CT scan machine. Did like little tools as otoscope, stethoscope, scope. MedTech for Tots.
What is it that you have a
I think it's just amazing having other people over here going to doctor's office.
Okay, I have a few more students. Do you want to hear from a few more?
Yeah. Let's go ahead and turn it over to the next couple students you have. I definitely want to hear about what they have.
Okay, so this is a student, this is Mitch, and one thing that we're seeing a lot in our filmmaking is the GoPro cameras. Many of my men tend to be more bodily kinesthetic learners, so they're more engaged with the filmmaking process. So Mitch was our first student I've ever taught that used the GoPro, and he taught me a lot. This is an example of a passion-based project. I completely knew nothing. And he taught me everything that I know about the GoPro, which was really not anything at the beginning. But Mitch, just tell us real quickly, what did you do for your project, and how did it work out?
For my project, I was filming basically ski footage of me skiing on some of the Ridge, Colorado, and I used a helmet camera for, it's a GoPro camera. Basically, attached to your helmet, and that regular camera is weatherproof. It was just a compilation of me just skiing on.
The GoPros are just incredible. Hop up real quick and we'll go over to West because we don't want to run out of time. I know you've got a limited amount of time as well. Now, West has a project going on right now with a friend named Matthew, who's actually a 9th grader. And tell us a little bit about the Wemo Wonders and what we're doing with that.
Well, the Wemo is actually, it's a little thing. It's pretty small. It's about the size of a matchbox that you plug into the wall. And then you can plug something into, and then you can operate anything that's plugged into it, phone or pad, especially if it's connected to the same Wi-Fi network. That's what it's. But you can also use if this, then that, make channels that have triggers. So say I set it to when Cat teacher tweets to turn the lamp on. It would automatically turn on a lamp. She tweeted. We actually have a link on our Tumblr blog, wemowonders.tumblr.com. And you can just follow that link and apply. We have a Google form that you fill out, and we accept you as we review the form.
And who are you working with for this?
I'm working with the people who actually pretty much invented the Wemo at Belkin.
Okay. So they're actually, it's because of a tweet this summer, and that they were curious as to what kids would find out and do. So they're really getting into the throes of their project, promoting and talking about the WeMo just because they think it's cool. And now I want to bring up Liz real quickly, and then we'll see if you have any more questions before we wrap up. Liz, her project, she actually wants to work in the, to be a dentist or a dental assistant. Is that right? Okay, hold on, an orthodontist.
For around like 2 or 3 years now, I've been thinking about going into the dental industry. I think it's really important to keep up dental hygiene. And even though nowadays you would think everybody like worldwide would have good dental hygiene, I really think that's not true, because in third world countries, I actually saw this show about these people, they'd be dentists on the street. So basically the whole town, instead of going to the dentist that would cost a couple $1,000s, this one dude would do it for about $10. And he'd do like all this stuff that normal dentists would do for cheaper. I thought it'd be cool to go in the dental industry. Maybe a group of people to go out to where these third world countries are to ensure like dental assistance, hygiene for people that can't.
This is, let's go ahead and go back on. We have questions. So she was actually tweeting me over Christmas as she tweeted from this account. So this is an example of a student who has a personal account, but then she has a professional account for things that she's interested in. Just another example of that.
Well, that's awesome, Vicky. I love hearing about all this connections they're making. I love the fact that in some cases they're writing to companies, hearing back, doing things that are as passion-based as I've heard. What do you credit a lot of this to, all this outpouring of passion? Obviously, it comes, some of it from you, but how do these students arrive to some of these projects?
Well, I'm gonna start off just by saying that they're looking for a grant because they are required to do it, so they don't have a lot of a choice. But I do hope that by the time, for me, and then I'm going to let them see what they're looking for, because I do think it starts off with my application. But for me, when we're talking to them, because some of them we have to talk a lot to get their passion-based project. And for me, what I look for is when the light goes on in their eyes and the edges of their mouth turn up. Like, I can tell that the thought of this makes them happy. And not every student gets to that point, which is kind of sad. I wish, you know, every student could find something they absolutely love. But when I see that response, then I'm like, yes, that's it. Because if you do what you love, you never have to work a day in your life. And what a blessing it would be if they could find it now. And even if it's not something they go into, if they at least find a little piece of themselves and say, you know what, there is something that I'm good at. I'm very involved in Myers and the Matter movement, because I truly believe in my own belief system that each of us are ready to have something that we're better at doing than anybody else. And we need to look for that. And in school, we're not making copies, we're making originals. We're making unique students. And we have to individualize and personalize and be entrepreneurs.
Well, Vicky, that's awesome. We're going to have to go ahead and wrap it up. I am so inspired by what some of your students are doing. I love the fact that you're having them find their passion. What we're saying here a lot at our school is we hashtag a lot of things. Opportunities are everywhere. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're having your students get fired up, get passionate about what they're already interested in, and finding educational relevance in it. And for that, I salute you. I think it's great. I hope to connect with you again soon. And make sure that you get me all of their YouTube videos so I can go ahead and promote it on here anyway. But other than that, I really want to thank you for being on the show, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Don. It's been great.
Okay.
Everybody's waving goodbye.
All right. I want to again thank Vicki Davis for being on the show today. I am so honored to have a pioneer of social media as her on the show. I really think it's evident that she is really bringing a lot of passion-based education to her students. If you know of another teacher or student that would like to be spotlighted on our show, please make sure you contact me at dwetrick@gmail.com or just comment in the link below. Thanks again, everybody, and remember, opportunities are everywhere.